And eventually, you're able to touch the 30,000 people that we really need to address, that we really need to figure out who are voting conservative, who are voting for those other crappy parties.
The Liberals are funding non-citizens' children. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got the Liberals not taking care of Canadians because that's not what they do. We've got a media storm here that's continually going after Pierre Poilievre. Chris D'Entremont gave an interview on CBC. The guy's an absolute traitor. I have some old footage of him that's going to make him look like a complete idiot. We've got a bunch of other stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we've got a handful of polling data this here. Canadians, which party do you think would best handle immigration? Conservatives, 38%, Liberals, 27%, 22% don't know, which is interesting. That's a big chunk there. We also have this one here, hypothetical ballots. How would Canadians vote with different conservative leaders? And we're seeing Pierre Poilievre with 38%, Stephen Harper 34%, Doug Ford 31%, which is actually quite surprising because, well, he's not a conservative and he's completely useless. He just torpedoed Carney's trade talks. And Jason Kenney, Caroline Mulroney, going all the way down the list here. I don't know who they put on this list. Was it everyone from the Conservative Party or was it just a handful of people? I'm not sure. But next up, we're seeing this again. CTV News trying to help Mark Carney here. Canada adds surprise 67,000 jobs. I showed this on the previous video. Most of those are part-time jobs. We've lost full-time jobs. This is not something to brag about. Moving ahead, we've got cloned meat entering Canada's food supply without any labeling or safety review. So we've got the CFIA going out and annihilating 330 ostriches, but then they can't put in any effort to label cloned meat. What a disgrace our country is. Speaking of the CFIA and the ostrich situation, we've got MSNBC here in America. Why conspiratorial right rallied around a flock of ostriches. The anti-V word, anti-government crusade to save the miracle cure birds is over, and the fringe activists lost. Yeah, fringe activists. We're talking like half the country here. Good luck with that. This is woke garbage coming from the left in America. And we've got this video here, which I cannot play. This is the only thing I can show you is people have been egging and throwing the doo-doo all over, and like literal doo-doo, it's probably dog doo-doo, all over the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency building in Kelowna. And moving ahead, we've got Tim Hodgson here. There's a global race to net zero by 2050. It's time for Canada to compete and win. Okay. These guys already did this with Justin Trudeau, all the EV batteries, all that crap. It didn't work. And here they are doing it again. The C-word competitiveness strategy will ensure we meet the world's growing demand for low carbon energy while keeping our environment clean and our economy stable. Prove it. I dare you to prove it, Tim. Carney, any one of them. Bring out a report showing that we will make more money being climate competitiveness. There is no report. There's no study. There is no demand of countries that want extra low carbon everything. It doesn't exist. And that's why they'll never prove this. They'll never produce a document showing this because it doesn't exist. Sure, they'll say the UK, it's important to them. The EU, who cares? We barely do any trade with those countries. And along those lines here, we got Andy Lee posting this. They're going to spend $1 trillion on more pet C-word projects that broke Canada in the first place. $1 trillion. Yeah, you read that right. $1 trillion. It's cut off on the screen. Over $1 trillion in investment over the next 5 years. If you caught my previous video, Mark Carney is going to be funneling this money into the funds he created at Brookfield to pump the value because he gets a bonus off of how well they do. And I estimate based off what I see these pension fund guys are making on these kind of funds, 10, 15, upwards of 20% on these kind of things on the returns after the investors get paid out. And then Brookfield takes a percentage, like 20%, investors get 80%. Works out roughly to be $50 million a year on those funds. If Brookfield is able to get a 10% return year after year on those funds, which is not crazy numbers. We're not talking like 78% increase like he's got on BWX Technologies. And here's Carney posting it himself, budget 2025, C-word competitiveness strategy, attracting massive investment in Canada's clean future. He's telling us right here what exactly he's doing. We're launching a new C-word competitiveness strategy. No, you're not. You're just enriching your own funds, buddy. I can see exactly what you're doing. Last year, global investment in clean energy reached nearly $3 trillion. This is all a grift. Canada's be left holding the bag. He's going to get rich. He wants to join the billionaire club if he's not already there. I don't know if he's a billionaire. Perhaps he should disclose his financials. We've got conservative Roman Baber posting this as they're talking about it on CTV.
Today, the federal government outlined its new climate competitiveness strategy as global trade upheavals, rapid technological change, and clean energy is reshaping the world economy. Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Julie DeBrusen, and Energy Minister Tim Hodgson announced today the government...
Look at this forest fire footage here. Why don't you buy some water bombers then? Investing in Carney's funds at Brookfield does not put the fires out on these forest fires.
will invest over $1 trillion over the next 5 years, driving growth in nuclear, hydro, wind, energy storage, and grid infrastructure to make Canada a leader in the low-carbon economy.
It prioritizes measures that deliver the greatest emissions reductions and increases competitiveness at the lowest cost for Canadians.
What we do know is nuclear is great. We should be doing that. And Carney shouldn't be benefiting from it. Trump knows that too. That's why he just did an $80 billion deal with Brookfield in America for nuclear. But solar, wind, those have been debunked. Those are not great sources of power. They're environmental hazards. Until the technology's better, especially on solar, large scale, it's not a good idea. Moving ahead, we've got Juno News dropping this bombshell exclusive. Liberals dished out $7.1 billion on child supports for non-citizens. As it says here, over the last 9 years, they've been funding other people's kids while Canadian taxpayers struggle. Single mothers can't afford to feed themselves, often foregoing meals to feed their children, and our tax dollars are going to non-citizens' children. Should non-citizens be eligible for child benefit payments? No. The Liberal Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne revealed that nearly $7.134 billion in Canada Child Benefit CBB payments went to people in Canada who are temporary residents, protected persons, and other non-citizens after excluding permanent residents. This is deplorable. Champagne revealed that $241.5 billion had been paid out to program recipients since 2016. In the first year, over 60,000 non-permanent residents and non-citizens received more than $318 million from the CCB, and by 2024, there were over 160,000 temporary residents, protected persons, and other non-citizens who received nearly $1.17 billion. In the first 9 months of 2025, there is already over 17.5% increase in the number of non-citizens and non-permanent residents receiving the CCB. There's also a 2.56% more tax dollars spent on the 188,000 recipients with over 1.2 billion. This is just becoming a buffet of non-Canadians getting Canadian taxpayers' dollars. Billion here, billion there. Canadians not getting that benefit. But don't worry, Champagne revealed in his response that non-citizen or non-permanent residents both met the general eligibility and specific immigration-related requirements. Oh, good. They met the requirements. Thank goodness. This is deplorable stuff. These guys have absolutely betrayed taxpayers. Moving ahead, we've got this onslaught of media attacking Pierre Poilievre. I've mentioned this in the previous video. Sharon Kerr going after Pierre with this wild story with no proof whatsoever, and now writing an article on CTV. They paid her to write this nonsense here of turbulent times in the Conservative caucus. What a load of garbage. No proof. Write me another bedtime story, Sharon. How budget wheat turned into a nightmare for the Conservatives. Look at this nonsense. I've not been covering most of this because these guys are out of control. This is slanderous garbage. $1 million a day. They're just trying to smear Pierre. This is not honest reporting. Do Conservative backbenchers steal the show on budget week? In damage control after 2 departures, Conservatives accuse Liberals of undemocratic distractions. Yeah, what happened to the budget? Carney's disastrous budget. At issue, Poilievre's leadership in trouble. They had a whole segment talking about this. It's absolutely absurd. All these rumor and speculation. Oh, could they kick him out? Could they vote to get rid of Poilievre? MP Chris d'Entremont says he joined Liberals because of Poilievre's leadership style. D'Entremont is a weaselly loser, and he's about to get destroyed. As we see here, Chris d'Entremont can't stop lying. Looks like he couldn't get his assistant to go along with the lie, so he had to come clean. He came up with this wild story that Andrew Scheer came barging into his office and pushing his assistant out of the way, barging into office, yelling from Conservative leadership, sealed the deal on defection d'Entremont. In a previous version of this story, Chris d'Entremont told CBC News that the Conservative House leader Andrew Scheer and party whip Chris Warkentin pushed d'Entremont's assistant aside. D'Entremont has since clarified to CBC News that the Conservatives pushed the door to his office. As in what? He opened it? Listen to this horse crap.
I had the leader of the House leader and the whip barge into my office, push my assistant aside, rush in, push, take the door and just push it wide open. To sit there and, tell me how much of a snake I really was and turning my back on my constituents and the people that voted for me. And
Yeah, because you are. You're a snake, Chris. These are factual pieces of information.
And really underline the situation that I made this decision. You know, this was not, it wasn't about, hey man, maybe you're not doing well. Maybe we've misunderstood what your objectives were. There was none of that. It was just, how dare you do that? How dare you?
Yeah, you betrayed the party. Of course they're pissed off. And you betrayed people who sacrificed their time, didn't get paid in your constituency. You gave nothing back to them. You backstabbed them.
Really pushed me to a point where it's like, okay, well, I guess my decision is made for sure now.
We have received a response from Pierre Poilievre's office to what d'Entremont said in that interview with us about pushing and yelling by Andrew Scheer and Chris Workington. That response reads in full: Chris d'Entremont, who established himself a liar after willfully deceiving his voters, friends, and colleagues because he was upset he didn't get his coveted deputy speaker role, is now spinning more lies after crossing the floor. He will fit in perfectly in the Liberal caucus. That statement from the opposition.
I like the statement. It's well said. It's on point because he is. He's a rat. He's a liar. He betrayed his constituents. He will fit in with the Liberal caucus for as long as he lasts there.
You campaigned against the Liberals just 6 months ago, and now you might actually be key to handing them a majority government. How are you personally squaring those two things?
It's hard in a way. I know what my positioning was during that election. You know, people will say, well, you know, I voted for you or the Conservatives or the platform or many different things. But I know that I did not really run on the Conservative platform. The platform that we had, did not address some of the things that we needed here. Fishing, of course, is always an important issue here. We tried to stay away from, pictures of the leader and all those things, because every single door or many of those doors that we went to, it was, Chris, I can't vote for you this time because I don't like Pierre Poilievre. So we had to try to adapt our campaign style to be able to try to put that to a side and try to ignore some of those facts. But there's a number of things that I can attach to within the platform that the Liberals put out. Many times with my opponent, Ronnie LeBlanc, we agreed on the majority of the things. He was agreeing with my stuff. I was agreeing with his.
Yeah, he was agreeing with the Liberal while he was running as a Conservative. This guy's such a rat. He's making up garbage here. Just going back to what he said here.
But I know that I did not really run on the Conservative platform. The platform.
Oh, really? You didn't run on the Conservative platform. Sorry to do this to you, Chris. Somebody sent this to me. Chris is going to have to eat his own words here. This is him campaigning under Pierre Poilievre. So I believe this recording is from November of last year. You can see the Christmas tree here. At this point, Justin Trudeau was crashing and burning. The Conservatives were getting ready to hopefully form government.
Nova Scotians and Islanders are pretty similar. They want to know who they're voting for. They really want to know who that person is. They want to know what they stand for. And we can do all of our work as Conservative politicians to support Pierre Poilievre and all the great things that we're seeing that we're going to be doing. But
oh, really? To support Pierre Poilievre? All the great things we're seeing and doing. Sounds like he's supporting Pierre Poilievre.
And eventually, you're able to touch the 30,000 people that we really need to address, that we really need to figure out who are voting Conservative, who are voting for those other crappy parties, and who are going to help us make it to the finish line.
Those other crappy parties. That's a quote straight from Chris d'Entremont about the Liberal Party. He's now part of a crappy party.
And I can tell you what I see there today is not representative of what Canada actually is. It's representative of few ideals that are happening from Justin Trudeau's world and his supporters. And it's not translating to what Canadians actually need. So let's not forget, we're paying way too much in taxes. We need to axe those taxes. And Pierre Poilievre has been very straight in saying that has got to go. We cannot, have the current tax that we have, nor can we afford the taxes that are becoming in the future.
How he's supporting that.
Secondly, we need to build homes.
Yeah, we're not building homes. It's another Liberal fund of bureaucracy that doesn't build homes. The first one didn't do it. Housing Accelerator, now Build Canada Homes, is not going to do it. It's just going to help Mark Carney's share prices in Brookfield as they funnel more money over to companies like Modular Group to build modular homes.
Continue to spend our grandchildren's tax dollars. We cannot continue to do that. We need to be able to balance the budget, just like Gail did when she was in Harper's time, when Harper was able to bring forward a number of balanced budgets.
This guy is such a sellout. He's talking about balancing the budget, and Carney's running a $78 billion deficit. What a loser. This guy tried to save his own skin, his own job. That's all he cared about. He threw everyone, all his constituents, everyone who worked hard to get him elected, he threw everyone under the bus to try to save his own skin. What a loser.
And crime, well, we need to fix crime. There is far too much crime going across in our communities. It sounds like four very basic things, but I can tell you there's a lot of work that goes behind those four items that Pierre Poilievre talks about on a regular basis. And it's something that I am very, very, very happy to support and stand behind.
He's very happy to support and stand behind those four things that Pierre Poilievre has laid out. It's his own words. This guy is a two-faced charlatan.
Many times with my opponent, Ronnie LeBlanc, we agreed on the majority of the things. He was agreeing with my stuff. I was agreeing with his stuff. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to be able to enact things that are right for our ridings. And I still think this is the best avenue for that.
Is it your intention to run as a Liberal in the next election, Chris d'Entremont?
I'm not sure at this point, because quite honestly, I've been around for a long time. It was a 17-year career as a provincial politician. We're on the third election now federally, which was probably one more than I had expected to do. But again, we're in minority situation. We have parties that continue to struggle on getting that majority going. So,
I think he joined the Liberals because he just wants to know what it feels like to be in government. The Liberals have been running this show for 10 years, and he wants to go out saying that he served in the government. He wasn't in opposition. This is all selfish to this guy. It's unbelievable.
Like I said, I'm 56. I need to spend some time at home, maybe. So, we'll talk that over with the family when the time comes, and just see, what the political fortunes are. A week is a long time in politics in Canada.
This guy is unbelievable. I mean, we've got M. Brandt posting this, $18,350 in donations that Chris got from conservatives. He should have to give this money back right out of his own pocket. They brought on conservative Adam Chambers here. He does a great job on here.
On the budget itself, there are a lot of conservative priorities in there, even if the approach is different. Your party wants new energy projects, improved productivity. The Liberals are even cutting foreign aid, which is something that your party called for as well. Why?
Hardly. There's still like $1 billion of foreign aid.
Is there not enough common ground in this to stave off an election?
Well, let's just look at the headline numbers. I mean, I first ran in 2021 because I thought Prime Minister Trudeau was spending too much money. We are now spending more on interest payments on the debt, not just than we do on healthcare, but the GST receipts that the government receives doesn't even cover the amount of money we're spending on interest on the debt. And if we get ourselves into economic uncertainty in forms of a recession, those numbers will increase dramatically. And so I am very concerned that the Prime Minister is putting the country in an unsafe or unstable fiscal position, especially given the uncertainty that we see in the world. And these aren't just my words or conservative words. These are the words of even Fitch, the rating agency, who said that the government's fiscal position is being eroded and that it can't be confident that the projections will continue the way they are because they have a history of having higher deficits and higher spending than what they promised. So I think that's a primary concern for conservatives.
She doesn't like that he's dropping truth bombs here about Fitch and the downgrading of the credit rating, all of it. Makes Canada look bad, it makes Carney look bad. And of course, CBC trying to run shield here for Carney. So immediately she's getting antsy-pantsy. If you watch the full interview, she keeps trying to cut him off numerous times. And he's like, I'm not having that. He just keeps talking over her.
Absolutely, is the level of debt that we're leaving for our next generation. And I think the Prime Minister could have made some additional compromises, certainly on that point. I mean, I recall the 2008-2009 timeframe when I worked in the finance department with Minister Flaherty. It was Prime Minister Harper and Minister Flaherty's responsibility, according to the media then, to make sure that the budget passed, to make sure that there were compromises made. And I'm not sure I've seen that here with this budget. I think instead we've seen the Prime Minister and his members try to lure other floor crossers in order to pass a budget so that they don't have to make any compromises.
She's so uncomfortable with it. Okay. And then that fake smile comes out. Got to silence him pretty quick. But don't want to be bringing out those facts. And he's right. It's up to the governing party to work with the other parties to pass the budget, not threaten to essentially destroy their reputation going to election and blaming those other parties to get a majority the next time around. That's not how this works. So early in this interview too, she tries to ask him a whole bunch of questions about Chris D'Entremont. He answers them pretty straight, but he just goes past those pretty quick. He's not going to waste time on that nonsense. It has this account's posting here. Real GDP per capita in the OECD, and where's Canada? Second last, just ahead of Luxembourg.